Hello, everyone. My name is Christopher Curra. I'm the lead faculty and curriculum chair for the Dallas College Video Game Design program. And today we have James Huffman. Welcome, James. James is an aspiring or solo game developer who's currently working on his own game. James, why don't you go ahead and just give us your full name, talk to us a little bit about your current role, and give us kind of a day in the life of kind of what you kind of do.
Yeah, sure. So my name is James Huffman. In the last year and a half, I've been doing some solo developing. I did about a year at Dallas College, took some classes there, and decided to kind of take the leap into doing solo development. I was previously a microbiologist for about 10 years, had about a midlife crisis a little bit, an early life crisis. And I was like, you know what, I kind of want to do something else, something a little different. And throughout a lot of those years while I was a microbiologist, I was doing custom Mario ROM hacks. So essentially I would take Super Mario World and then I would go into the code and, rearrange all the levels, input my own mechanics and do all my own level design, and then upload that up to the internet, and other players could check them out and play it. And I was like, you know what, I'm doing some good stuff here. I feel like I'm making meaningful art that people are enjoying. Maybe I should try my hand at doing some like actual games. And so I decided to take the leap and go to Dallas College.
Well, let's talk about your game a little bit. Why don't you just tell us the name of your game and kind of what it's about?
Yeah, so I've been working on a game called the Bold Bogey. It's a 3D golf adventure game. So if you take golf and mix it with Zelda, you'll be exploring a big world. You'll go into dungeons, get new permanent upgrades that kind of change how you can play. You'll even fight bosses and stuff like that. It's a ton of fun. It's like very movement focused. So you'll be doing lots of cool acrobatics and kind of flying through the air and all that sort of stuff. It's been super fun to work on. I'm hoping to release it sometime this year, maybe in the next few months. Who knows? You never know with game development, but just been having a blast making it.
And so you've been working on that all by yourself, just no help from anybody. You've just done everything?
Yeah, it's been all me essentially, and I've kind of been taking tricks and things that I've learned in my ROM hacking days. So like a lot of the times I'm not a 3D modeler. So I'm taking like assets from the store and stuff, things like that I find, and then I'll kind of retool them. I'll mess with the materials and stuff like that. Basically, the whole game has been like kind of teaching myself the various aspects of Unreal Engine. We're using Unreal Engine 5 on this. I say me. And so I've just been kind of like, it's like, oh, I need a UI. Let's learn about how to do widgets and stuff like that. And it's like, oh, I need to have some sort of data table for these things. Let's learn how data tables work and how we can do all that sort of stuff. And throughout my time at Dallas College, I was also taking a blueprint course online that really helped kind of get the basics of blueprint coding in Unreal Engine so that I could actually code the game myself despite not having a coding background.
Man, that's incredible. I always tell all my students that the best skill that I can teach them is how to teach themselves. And a lot of them kind of look like that. They hear that and they're like, well, then why am I here? And it's kind of like, well, there's a lot that you actually learn. You were in my intro to game class, and we worked on a pretty heavy game kind of right out of the chute. And, you kind of, why don't you talk a little bit about your experience working in that class and on that project a little bit?
Yeah, it was a lot of trying to just like figure out the basics of Unreal Engine as we were trying to make some sort of 3D platformer game. It was kind of a mess, but in the end, I just took those classes and that time to just kind of just teach myself, learn different things, just poke around the engine a whole bunch. The other classes that the level design class, 2 classes that I took were really helpful in just trying out different templates of, just challenging myself to make a puzzle level or an Uncharted style level or like a marble rolling game level, like different things to kind of like work my brain and think in different ways. Because I've been mainly focused on like 2D platforming, and so it's like I need to learn all the different disciplines of especially 3D game development. There's so many things you have to think about in different ways. Like it's way harder. Like having just an X and Y axis seems like just easy peasy compared to like having to do things in a 3D world. So just a lot of that stuff was really helpful to learn in those classes, as well as there was a game design class that I took, and that was like just kind of just like coming up with game ideas and like making game design documents and just like kind of trying to hone in on like how you come up with a game idea and like the different ways you should think about things like that and stuff.
So would you consider yourself more of a game designer or a level designer?
Uh, Honestly, the things that I like doing the most in Bogey right now is coming up with a mechanic or a level idea or something like that, and then kind of building the whole thing out from start to finish. So, like for example, a friend said, "Oh, there should be like a fun bowling level." And I was like, "Okay, okay, let's figure out how to make a bowling level in my game." And so I like designing the mechanic itself and the coding, and then I like making the level around it. I like making the graphics that play. I like recording myself, doing various. I have a golf ball right here that I'll sometimes like I'll roll that across my table to get a sound effect for rolling, or I'll record myself saying something if I need that. And so just kind of going from start to finish of building a mechanic or a level idea is kind of the stuff I have the most fun with. The thing I actually hate the most is like doing environmental art and like making things look nice. It just feels so tedious for whatever reason. But like blocking out or like designing the actual like game design mechanics are kind of where I have the most fun.
And so your target launch platform, I think you told me, is going to be Steam. Can you talk a little bit about that, and then also maybe talk about if the future, like if you plan on doing anything else with it?
Yeah, so Steam is like the most open platform, and it's got the most users or whatever. So it's the easiest to get on. You only need to pay like $100 to get on there, and so that's obviously where most developers start out at. If I were to go, I would love to go to other consoles. It's just like you usually need a publisher or something like that, or you need to pay thousands of dollars for a dev kit, and that's just a whole. They've got their own rules and everything. So that's way further down the line if this is even remotely successful. But yeah, for right now, it's mainly on Steam, and so that's kind of been. Yeah, Steam is like both incredibly useful and also like terrifying because thousands of games get released on it every year, and it's hard to stick out. And so you constantly have to do a bunch of marketing, different ways to get your name out there, posting on Reddit, making ads or trailers, things like that. And of course, I'm one person, so I'm doing all of that, trying to balance all of that as well as developing the game. And so it's been a learning experience for sure. But I feel like I've learned so much about it that like I feel much more comfortable using the system and everything.
So what made you end up going with like the Unreal Engine as opposed to like a Unity or something else?
Mainly that it was just like the first thing that was shown to me in Dallas College, and for whatever reason, people always say it's like super complicated, but for whatever reason, it seemed to make sense in my brain, and it is definitely extremely complicated. And there's lots of things that that other engines do way easier, I'm sure. But that was just kind of like the I don't know, it just seemed to make sense for me, especially with the blueprints. Blueprints seem like a really nice like kind of halfway for like people who aren't coders. Like I don't know coding fundamentals, but like I feel like after working with it so much that I feel like I understand so much of coding now, even if I can't write it necessarily. But yeah.
So when you run into like problems, like like you have a blueprint question or something else, where do you go to try to figure out how to solve that?
A good friend Google. You just put in whatever you need and then search through forums, Reddit posts, endless amounts. Because the documentation for Unreal is pretty rough, and so it's not like you can just go to the Unreal site and be like, oh, this is how you use it. Like there's some resources and stuff, but like for the most part, I'm just like, how do I do this? And then I'll teach myself, and then that's just like another nugget or something that I can come back to if I need to use it for like another aspect of the game. It's just like I'm constantly just building up little ideas whenever it's like, how do I do this? Search it, do it, teach myself, all right, now I just have this new trick in my bag.
Okay, so here's the big question: have you been using any AI?
No, there's no generative AI in the game. I've occasionally used Chat GPT for some quick thing for like a material note or something like that. But for the most part, like a lot of times that I've used Chat GPT, it either gives me incorrect information or just makes things way more annoying and obnoxious. So I try not to use it.
Okay. Interesting. Now about your players. So it's interesting when you design games because, as a solo developer, you can kind of. I mean, I've been there. You can kind of develop games for you, where it's like this is a game that I would love to play. Or you can. I mean, you can do it. You can do it all. But have you been like letting anybody else test it and getting feedback and then like deploying that feedback, or is it just kind of like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially this last month, there was Steam Next Fest, and I put out a demo and allowed people to download it and play it. Which, of course, even before that, I had to do play tests with some friends and family and some random people, and they record their gameplay, and I watch it back and see, where they faltering, where they not understanding mechanics, and so that about 2 weeks after Next Fest was just all spent on fine tuning the tutorial and things like that. Like, there's just so many things you don't think about when you're playing a game that are just nice. Like, even just like small things like, oh, the controls are often like in the bottom left of the screen, like when you're on a menu or something like that. And like people just like weren't understanding, like, oh, how good is this mechanic? Like, oh, you can do this thing, but like nobody's actually doing it because they don't fully understand it. How do I correct that problem? And so, like, for an example is in the game, you'll unlock new power ups and stuff like that that are super powerful, but then like no one uses them. And so it's like, okay, I made tutorial levels for each of the power ups. So now when you get the power up, you go to a tutorial level, you figure out what it shows you. You have to do, the certain power up to actually get through the level, and then now you have that resource in there. It's like, oh, this is how I should be using this power up now from out. So different things like that. It's just tons and tons of ways to help the player out.
That leads me to a very interesting question, and that's kind of like a design question. When you're designing games and you're thinking about the player, you can kind of over tutorial the player and kind of show them everything, show them every single way to go, or you can kind of like completely hold back and let them figure out everything, like like a Dark Scrolls or something. Um, where would you say this game is in that Dark Souls? Sorry, in that balance.
Um, it's got like a cute vibe to the game a little bit, but at the end of the day, like I still like I broke my teeth on hard Kaizo platforming and Mario and stuff like that. So there's a lot of like pretty challenging stuff in the game, but I try to like make that as forgiving as possible. So like you don't have like a stroke counter or anything like that. There's no lives or anything like that. When you die, you respawn back at your last position. So like I try to make it forgiving so that the challenge is more attainable for the average player. But in terms of like the game is like weird. Like nobody's made a golf game like this, and so I do have to tell the player through play, but also like just sometimes you need to use text, but like usually you should put players in positions where the text meets the game mechanics, and then it clicks in their head of how to do certain things, and then so like after they get through the tutorial, then you go out into like this big open world, and from there it's less structured. You can kind of go wherever you want. I give you there's like you have to get 3 different batteries or like stars. If you think about Mario 64, you need stars to get to like the next world. In this game, you need to get batteries in different levels and different places throughout the world. Get those batteries, go to the thing, and then that unlocks like the next big structured, focused like dungeon area. And so you're kind of ping ponging between freedom of exploration and fun, kind of explore the world however you will, and then going back into more focused platforming and yeah.
Okay, I got one more question for you. Was was there ever a time where you showed somebody the game, maybe it was a video, or you let them test it, and then they came back and they said, you know, it would be really cool if, and they threw some idea at you, and you heard that idea and you were like, man, that actually would be a really cool idea, and then you put it in and it was like it really improved the game?
Yeah, I mean, I get tons of suggestions from people. It's like, oh, you should add, wind to the game, or spin, and all that sort of stuff. Spin was probably the biggest one for most of the game's development, literally until like 2 months ago. Um, the only way to move was to launch yourself. So you charge up, boom, and then launch yourself, and then you'd stop, and then you do it again. And in the fairway, the open world where you can go really fast, that wasn't necessarily a problem. But in the shorter, or in the more focused areas, your golf ball can't launch as powerful. And so I was watching playtesters and was like, man, they're just moving really slowly around these areas. People keep mentioning that the game needs spin, and so let's try and just add that in, see how it feels. And it just drastically improved the game. And so now, like, when you're in the air, you can put spin on your ball. So if you land and there's backspin, you stop. Like, it makes sense. It's intuitive. That's how a real golf ball works. But also, like, a side effect was like you could just kind of just roll around on the ground, and it's like, oh, this is actually just like super fun to just like speed through the world and roll in the like you're a marble or something like that. And so now, like, I have this new tool for the player to use, and like all these like new gameplay mechanics and different like level ideas are coming to my head now, because you can easily spin and roll through the world and all these different sorts of things. And it's kind of just like opened up Pandora's box in terms of the play space.
Okay, so I actually have one more question because you made some really good points. How hard is it to balance? Obviously you want to release the game, you want to get it out there to players, you want them to start playing it. But how hard is it to balance that with, I'm sure you have just a massive list of like A list, B list, and C list items that you're like, man, I'd really love to get this stuff in, 1.0 version of the game, but like I also want to get the game out there. How hard is it to balance that and like make those decisions?
Yeah, it's for the most part, I haven't let scope creep into the game. There's been a couple times where it made sense. Like, initially, I wanted the game to be done within like, I don't know, 8 or 9 months, because I just wanted to make a quick, short game and get it out there. But as the game has just like kind of grown, it's like the game needs certain things, and it's not like, oh, I'm just like delaying the game over and over to just add pointless stuff. It's like, oh no, the game like significantly improves when I add these things. But for the most part, I've been following the game design doc I literally made in my game design class. I built out, there's gonna be 4 areas, you get these 4 power-ups, yada yada yada. And I largely stuck to that, and like a lot of the game I built out before adding in stuff like the big open world where the game kind of grew in that space. Excuse me. And so, yeah, I haven't really been too bad about scope creep. And ultimately, like, where my finances and stuff like that, I have to constantly balance that, because, I can't do this forever. I should, be somewhat reasonable. I have a wife and kid now, so I kind of have to think about them and all this sort of stuff. But like, ultimately, before I made all this decision, I made the choice, or we had the discussions, like, I can do this for X amount of years before we really need to start worrying and stuff like that. So ultimately, I'm kind of battling my the fact that I'm not bringing in money right now with the fact that I'm working on this the whole time, with like, oh, the game needs to be better, and so what are the things I need to do it and all that sort of stuff. But ultimately, like, the way that I built the game out, there's like lots of like side levels and stuff like that, and each side level kind of has its own gimmick. And I don't know, built like 12 or so different style of gimmicks that I can then recycle each time you get a new power up. It's like, okay, there's a level where you like, it's first person, you're like a first person golf ball. It's like, okay, well, after you get like the slam upgrade, now we can do another first person level. But now you've got the slam upgrade, so like there's all these new different toys and things that you can do with it. And so I can kind of reuse assets and ideas to more quickly produce content and not have to constantly, introduce scope creep.
That's awesome, man. Is there anything that we didn't kind of cover here that maybe you wanted to kind of share about yourself or the game or just anything else in general?
Yeah, I mean, just everyone can go to the Steam page, the Bold Bogey on Steam. It's got a demo, you can play it. I just updated the demo, and it's got all sorts of new doohickeys in it that you can try out. It's a ton of fun. Feel free to give feedback on the demo. I love feedback. But yeah.
What would be, if people want to get a hold of you, what's the best way that people can get a hold of you?
The Steam page has all of the socials that you need to contact me with. I also have an email, doggygames@gmail, that you can contact me at as well. On Blue Sky, all that sort of stuff. And I regularly post to YouTube and TikTok and all that sort of stuff. So feel free to follow me on those platforms to see more of the game and get invited to potential playtests if you want to be a playtester.
That's awesome, man. And I think we actually have an event that coming up that you're going to be a speaker at Dallas College. I'll go ahead and I guess link the link down there and any other links that people need. But James, thank you so much for your time. It's been really awesome. Your game looks super cool. I can't wait to play it myself. I'm sure I will soon. And yeah, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This was fun.